Trish and Rob McGregor welcome you to a place where all kinds of phenomena flourish. Voices whisper ancient secrets, signs and symbols are abundant. UFOs, ETs, ghosts, and even the dead move about freely. Here we meet authors, researchers, and investigators of the mysterious, the strange, and of the inexplicable anomalies that surround us. Step out of the everyday world and take a journey into the mystical underground.
Okay, great.
All right, and if
That'll
you're
be one of
ready,
our questions.
if you're ready, we'll get going in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Mystical Underground. Thank you for joining us. This is Rob
McGregor,
and Trish McGregor, and our producer and tech magician, John Posey. You can go to themysticalunderground.com, where we make regular blog posts and where you can find out about our books. Among them are Phenomena, Harnessing Your Psychic Abilities, The Secrets of Spirit Communication, Sensing the Future, and Aliens in the Backyard. And in May, my new synchronicity book will be out called Mind-Blowing Synchronicities. Our latest book, though, right now is The Shift, Reports from the Mystical Underground. My latest novel is White Crows, and Rob's latest novel is Breathe, A Master Driver's Survival Tales, a collaboration with Rick Bedowa.
Yeah, that's nonfiction, by the way.
Yeah.
All right.
Rob.
Okay. Kate Hobson, our guest today, is owner and host of Paranormal Experienced Radio since November 2014, and she's also the voice of Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine, since September 2018. She is also co-founder with her research partner, Frank Lee, of American Noetic Science Research Studies. Kat is also an investigator with Central Alabama Society for Paranormal Investigations and Research in Pell City, Alabama. She has been featured on the Travel Channel's Portal to Hell from the Old Paulding Jail, Coast to Coast AM Radio with George Noory, and has been a guest on many podcasts, and now also including the Mystical Underground. Welcome, Kat.
So good
Thank
to
you so
hear you
much.
finally.
Yeah.
I know, right? We've been talking for a while. I enjoy
That's
you.
true.
Yeah. So, Kat, I got a question right off the bat. What got to ask, what is the Portals to Hell from the Old Paulding Jail, and what was your involvement?
The Portals to Hell is a syndicated TV show, and it features Kathleen Wiseman and Jack Osborne, and they go to places that have extreme hauntings, I guess.
Yeah.
And I'm not really, I loved being on the show. I was there as a paranormal witness for an experience that I had in that jail, and it was extreme, but it was really an interesting thing for me because I had never been on a paranormal show. I did not know what it was going to be like, and my time there was cut short because one of the things that we have always wondered about that jail is if there were human remains in the downstairs. They call it, well, it's kind of like a little maze kind of looking thing, but there are cells that have been blocked up. And so people have opened some of them over the course of time that it's been being, has a new owner, Shelley Burke Robertson, who is fantastic. One of the best paranormal researchers, really, I know. You would love a conversation with her. But while I was going over my experience with Katrina, Jack called and said, "We have gotten through." And I'm like, go, I'm right behind you. And because it was exciting. We were going to actually find out. And in the course of time, those bones had gone in for analysis, and not everything came back as known.
Where is that
So-
jail located?
It is in Paulding, Ohio. It's about 20 minutes outside of Fort Wayne on the
Oh.
Indiana side of
Mhm.
Ohio. So, but you can book private tours there. You can book private investigations. I mean, it has two floors of cell blocks. It has on the other side the owner's quarters are there, but there's also the old records office and stuff up there. That third floor is so haunted, but not in a negative way there.
Mhm.
What was your experience there? You said you had.
The first time I went, I had been at C.A.R.P.I.R and planned to go with Shelley, who was also at C.A.R.P.I.R. You know, we met there and we were going to go back to the jail, and I was going to do a live broadcast because I was doing just Paranormal Experienced at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I set up in what is considered pretty sacred area to the spirits there. But it was the only table in the area. I had to set my laptop up. But as I'm doing, because I took, you know how those great big land cables that,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I had one. I covered all 3 floors with my land cable. Okay, I was going
Jeez.
everywhere. So anyway, I was in the first cell block and setting up. I was already Skyping with my then producer, and it was the most bizarre thing because my computer started going wonky. And I'm like, come on, guys. Well, there's people stomping around me. You can hear stomping.
Oh, geez.
And I'm in a cell block. So there's these big iron doors, and I'm hearing them slam.
Huh.
I'm looking at them being still. And that was the first time I'd ever had that experience. But I'm tripping out about my electronics because who can just run out in Paulding, Ohio and buy a laptop on a Sunday afternoon?
Right.
But, you know, I'm like, oh my gosh. And my producer messaged me and said, I can hear you. I can hear them. I will let you know if it gets too rough. And I'm like, what? Well, it just kept on and it kept on. And they're mad. I'm getting mad. I am not very quiet when I get mad. And I'm like, guys, this is not funny. I am so over this. And so I got a text message, this guy that said, you need to walk out of that room. Pick up your material, pick up your laptop and walk out of that room.
Yeah.
And yeah, you need to get out. So I looked at Shelley and I'm like, ah. So we went, she has a portal, you know, the device that Steve Huff put out sold specs for. And she had her husband build her one. It's a really cool device. But Shelley turned it on, and so we could communicate with me hearing. And Shelley was like, who was doing this? And the guy comes across, and the tone was such a smirk. He said, I was. And I just went off. I was like, why would you do that? I'm trying to help Shelley raise awareness of this jail. Do you know that if she hadn't bought this, you wouldn't even have a jail to live in? What would you do if you were just living out in the ether? I mean, I was just like,
You need to go to Casadega Hotel.
I do need to go to Casadega.
I'm telling you, Rob and I had an experience in that hotel that totally freaked us out.
Yeah.
Really?
It is haunted.
Yes, I have friends that have trained there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was during Bike Week in Florida,
Daytona.
In Daytona. So that was the big attraction that weekend. So the hotel, and it was real cold, and I think in February, and real cold for Florida, and the hotel was empty. We were the only ones there, and the guy sleeping in on the first floor behind the desk, but we heard this stomping, like heavy boots coming down. You know, we're not, you know,
we were on the second floor, so
we're on the second floor, and so, you know, we've had some, you know, spiritual experiences before, and you know, we're not frightened of this stuff, but that
No.
time we were very frightened. I mean,
We
it
moved the
was
dresser in front of the door like that's
it
going
was
to make a
just
difference.
a sense
grabbed
Because
our
of,
that's going to
daughter.
stop a ghost.
yeah,
I
you're
grabbed
right.
our daughter who was small and started looking around for a fire escape. I mean, it was
Right.
freaky.
Yeah, I
It
put
is
my hand.
freaky.
I put my
Yeah.
hand out on the door handle, and I said, "No, I'm not going to open that door." You know, it just
Well,
you
it
just
rattled
felt,
the hand.
yeah, it rattled
the handle.
first,
Really?
yeah, and
Yeah, it was.
it was scary, and it was just that heavy sense of evil or
Doom.
whatever on the
Yeah.
other side of
Doom.
it. Yeah, right.
Yes,
Yeah, and finally it just it moved on and
went down the hall.
yeah.
Left
That's
us alone.
weird. Did you hear it leave?
We heard
I
it
ca-
walking
don't know.
back down the hall, but that was it.
Yeah, I can't
Wow.
remember. Yeah.
And the next day, I asked the guy at the desk. I told him what had happened. He goes, "Oh yeah, we have ghosts, but they're friendly." I said, "No, this guy was not friendly."
Right.
So
Right.
Yeah.
And you can tell. I mean,
Yes, you
because
can.
obviously you read energy, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, with this instance, they were Spearman. I had investigated there in the past. That's why I wanted to do a live broadcast because
Mhm.
I knew the activity level there, and I more than got my money's worth on that, right? Because it was so weird, and you know, and it was really funny because one of the things that I told them was, you know, do you think I'm here for my health? I have a 9-hour drive home tomorrow. I have to, you know, I'm not here just because this is a good time for me, although it is because I love Shelley, but I am, you know, I am here to help promote so you maintain a home.
Mhm.
And, you know, the guy said, really? Like, oh. And I was like, yeah. Yeah, really.
What is this portal that you're talking about that your friend?
It is an electronic device utilizing what looks to me like a musician's amp,
Okay.
right?
Mm.
And I don't know I haven't seen the schematics because, you know, A, I wouldn't ask because she paid for that, but B, she wouldn't show me because she paid for that. And yeah, I'm sure it was part of the purchase agreement. We've really not talked about it. But it's really probably the most brilliant. And I don't know Steve Hub. I do know his reputation. We've been friends in different social media apps here and there over a decade. But yeah,
And you can hear
personally, you can
actually
hear like nobody's freaking business.
Huh.
And it's really funny because Shelley's husband does not like the spirits communicating directly with him. And I was up there another time for a picnic, a cookout that she hosts those sometimes for people that come a lot or whatever. And so I was in the kitchen with her husband. We were slicing and dicing, getting the fixings ready for the hot dogs and burgers and stuff. The portal's going the whole time. And while I'm talking to Vincent, you know, the portal is responding and I'm responding to the portal. And Vincent's like, "You're talking to them?" I said, "You're not. They're your ghosts." You know.
Interesting.
But it is it really is. It's the best. And I get people who offer to let me test things a lot and stuff like that.
Mhm.
This is the best spirit communication device I have ever seen in operation in my whole life, and I'm old. And I've done this a long time.
So is the I'm sorry, real quick.
Go ahead, John.
So is the is the show there? Was the show built around the fact that this device exists, or
No,
Okay.
the show had no interest in the device.
Okay.
I was there just to do a live broadcast from the Old Paulding Jail because my experiences there, my evidence from there is that, you know, I've done stuff. I had done a couple of investigations there. And I actually was with a different company filming sizzle reel, and it was so weird because I got invited to do that. And when we were down in that same basement, but on the other side, we're walking through and something put its fingers on my mouth.
Oh, God.
And I was like, somebody did. And I'm looking behind me. I know the people behind me, they wouldn't do that even for, you know, peeps and giggles. But I was just like, really? I mean, You don't have permission to do that. You don't have permission to touch me. Why? What are you doing? You lost your mind. And, I still have the video of that, but I can't share it because of the person who did not get the show from that sizzle reel and they have an attitude. So, but I'll share that with you, but I can't share it publicly.
Yeah.
Well,
But
and then
was,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
it's just interesting.
Sure. And then one other question real quick, as far as the show goes, or as far as the Portals to Hell show goes, does
Okay.
because when you mentioned Jack Osborne, which may have just kind of flown right by a lot of people, but that's Ozzy Osbourne's son, right?
It is.
And
Oh,
do you
all
know
right.
what do you know how he got involved in this, or how he got involved with the show? Or
I don't know how he got involved with the show, but I do know that the first time that poor man ever got touched by a spirit was upstairs on the second floor cell block at the Old Paulding Jail. And he came out of his chair.
Wow.
He was like, whoo.
Yeah.
He did the butt scoot out of the chair. It was fun.
So, Kat, have you ever been involved with trying to move these spirits on from this repetitious format they're living in, haunting a place, and letting them proceed in their own involvement?
Well, I used to think that might be my role.
Mhm.
And then I realized that that's nobody's business but between them and whatever reason they're there for. Because some of them are there, I feel like, because of a chastisement of sorts. Some of them are there because that was the only safe place they've ever known. And some of them are there just because they're afraid of what comes next, I think.
Do they know they're dead?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
They seem to.
I like your ET here.
Oh, thank you. His name is Al. My husband got him. My husband got him for me years ago, and I just started doing video. But he's been in every video that I've appeared in for other people's shows, and now he's in mine too. But
Well, here's a synchronicity. I just finished a science fiction book that involves bluish-skinned aliens. So, and your guy's blue. So that's interesting.
yeah. I thought about, I was at an event in Gulf Shores. I've got a home there, and I was just hanging out at this festival, and I came around the corner and there was this great big tent of all alien stuff, right?
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, I love that. But one of them wouldn't fit in my office, but he had a green one about Al size. And I thought that would be fun to have too. But then I thought, well, that might hurt his feelings because he's been flying solo back there for so long.
So, Kat, tell us about your background. How did you get interested in the paranormal, and did you have any experiences as a child, or?
Well, I got interested in paranormal investigation when I started watching television shows where people do that, and I'm like, why are they running? But I've always had precognizance, and apparently my grandmother had it too. But I've always known when things were around me.
Yeah.
And I don't very often see, if I see something they really want to be seen, they have a reason for that. But I never go into a place like looking for something. But I have had things that were less than charming that reacted to me being there in a way that I felt like was intended to make me leave. With C.A.S.P.I.R, Central Alabama group, I was doing an investigation with them, and I was being kind of emphatic, but not rude, I don't think. And I just was like, you can't do that. You can't do that. And this great, it freaked, because there were two men sitting on either side of me on the sofa, and there was somebody filming, and there were people around the room. But this great big huge burst of warm air just came. And I mean, it blew my hair everywhere.
Wow.
But both of those men were gone. They both were just like, yeah, we're out of here. We're not sitting by you anymore. But so that was something that I found interesting, and things like that do sometimes happen. and it's cool for the most part when it does. And I read energy really well.
Mhm.
And I know when there's something around me. And unless there's some things that can like cloak from me somehow, I'm not sure what makes the difference with that. Maybe it's what type of entity it is.
Hmm.
But I mean, my grandma, I always say she was New Age before New Age was a thing.
Yeah.
But she was, and we always knew, I mean, she was precognizant also. So it's kind of really good.
Yeah.
So like I got off the interstate on my way down to Cedar Key not too many years ago.
Cedar Key, Florida.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
I
it
love
was
Cedar
before
Key.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
Cedar Key too.
Yeah,
We've
love
been
that
there
place.
we've been there many times.
we
so-
almost
Have y'all
moved
stayed
there.
at the Cedar Key Hotel?
Of course.
Oh yeah.
Did you get pinched?
No.
No, we
I
didn't
got
have.
pinched.
Did
Really?
you?
I thought there must be a crab in my bed, and there was nothing
Yeah.
there. It woke me up.
Well, we've
I
usually
was like,
we've usually had a dog with us, so that might
Yeah.
discourage
That
some
might.
of that.
Yeah.
yeah.
Trisha's sister got married there in that
Yeah.
hotel.
Oh my gosh!
That little
What
garden.
a beautiful wedding that would have been.
Yeah, it really was. Unfortunately, the guy was an idiot.
That garden area. Yeah. Right. Yeah, it didn't last long.
No, it didn't
Well,
last long,
but at
but
least
the
it was
wedding
a pretty
good.
start.
Yeah.
The wedding
Yeah.
was fun.
I like that name, Casper. That's great. What it actually explains it in more than one
Yeah.
way. Central Alabama Society for Paranormal. Did you grow up in Central Alabama or
I grew up in Birmingham,
Birmingham? Okay,
and yeah,
yeah,
and my
that's near
friend,
Pell City.
my friend Frankly is from there, generationally,
Oh,
and
okay.
he is one of the best paranormal minds, from research and education
Yeah.
that I've ever known.
Okay.
So,
Kat, you said you do paranormal investigations in Scotland in 2022. What did you do? That must have been fascinating.
well, it was a lot of fun because a friend of mine, Rick McCollum, who founded the Hollywood Ghost Hunters, and does all kinds of investigations everywhere. He's like a roaming, spirit magnet. But he was talent for a tour group, and I can't possibly endorse that tour group because it was the most horrible tour anybody's ever been on. But I can totally endorse Scotland because it was so beautiful. It is so haunted. The place that we were supposed to get to stay, but we didn't get to stay our first night. We did. Rick was able to get a few of us in to investigate. And just because he's nice and people are nice to him, it's the strangest thing. People will come out of the woodwork and boom, he's into a location. It's so amazing to watch that interaction because he's a nice person and people recognize that, I think. But so we had adventures. Our first trip there was a psychic, Scott Allen, who was on that trip too, and he did a gallery reading. And the only other person I'd seen live do a gallery reading is Chip Coffey, and I was fairly impressed. However, Scott Allen blew my mind. Blew my mind. Both my dad and my nephew came through there, which was completely unexpected. And I was just like, really? Because he was describing the man and how he was dressed. He didn't say, this is your dad. He was like, there's a man coming forward. This is what he looks like. He's got on, this corduroy tan jacket, and he's, with the patches. And I'm like, oh my God. My dad wore that way before. Way after they went out of style. He loved those. So
Is this guy Scottish?
No, Scott Allen is from here.
Oh, he's from
and he is also a podcast host. He's on KGRA.
Did you go to any castles looking for spirits?
I went to castles. I went to the one castle that I thought was my must-go place. Okay. And it's because I'd heard so much about it. I'm friends with a lot of the guys from all the guys who are Scottish Paranormal, and they connected with us to go to Balgony Castle. And the Laird of Balgony was a friend of Rick's, as well as obviously the Scottish paranormal men.
Mhm.
And it was really a dream come true. That was completely a dream come true. I thought that the activity I got there, it's like 14th century or older.
Wow.
And the Laird owned 2 properties. He had 2 lairdhips because the lairdship goes with the property. And so it was so amazing. There were hand carved doors that he did in the winters, right? He painted all these coats of arms from every previous laird of Balgony, and they were hanging in the laird's quarters from the on the ceiling. There was Templar iconography all over the place because he was part of that. And it's just really amazing stuff. I mean, I never really thought that I would get there. And I did, and I'm going back in June.
Yeah.
Lucky
We're
you.
going to be hosting, Scottish Paranormal is hosting an investigation at Balgony and somewhere else. And it's going to be kind of a come hunt with the Americans thing.
Oh, wow.
So the group of us are going to be getting to investigate with a lot of people from, Scotland who are interested in the paranormal around Perth.
Well, what types of things happened there to you? I mean, when you were...
I got a lot. I was using equipment while I was there because I wanted to be able to carry that home with me, right, and have documentation. But the electronics were manipulated in amazing ways there. The Dark Zone, the Paranormal Video Network, was filming. They filmed that night. I was not there for the filming, but they got all kinds of neat stuff. And Jay Blumke is the owner, and I lost Kathleen's last name. Kathleen Burns is their executive producer, and it was fantastic. But what they got at night was similar to what I got during the day. And what was interesting was I had video of a woman who was sitting across from me, and there was like a light from a window, and the frame was like her head was made invisible. I mean, it looked like the stuff was going through her. And I thought, I'm a photographer, and I haven't had that happen before. And I've been in a lot of weird places shooting. So when I was looking at the film, Kathleen was in that room with me at that same time. And in that film is the same imagery. The same situation happened on her video. And I'm like, that's weird, because we were at different angles. Like I was sitting over here and she was sitting over here, and we both caught that. And I thought, I need to talk to her about that, because she's brilliant. They were involved, in creating ghost hunters and, really cool peeps. But I mean, we had some fun people on that tour. So I'm so glad I had that opportunity. We got to spend 45 minutes in St. Andrews doing a Baton Death March through there, which was ridiculous. I mean, there's a lot of reasons I say I cannot endorse that tour. But, it was such a blessing to be able to be there and do the things that we did get to do. And a lot of that was due to, Rick McCollum being the pushy guy he is, forgetting, because he loves Scotland and he knows people. And we got to go to Cool Roasts, and which is it was just fantastic. And there's some pictures I shared with you, Trish, that were.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about that.
Yeah, it's the one that's got like the painted ceiling.
Uh-huh.
And it was so cool. Rick saw a full body apparition there.
Hmm.
Very rarely do I get to see full body apparitions unless, they're like, singing Yankee Doodle Dandy in front of me, because I'm always so into just experiencing.
Uh-huh.
So it's,
I think some of the Civil War battlegrounds are places that people have had full body apparitions walk right by. Could you tell us about your involvement with Fate magazine and how you became the voice of?
Yeah, when I oh my God, I got to get her podcast.
Well, believe it or not, I kind of fell into it because of the way Phyllis and I feel about each other.
Mhm.
Her previous host was my previous producer, the one who was doing the jail thing. That's like I can hear them. Well, he turned out to have substance abuse problems, and he was really in the throes of that, an absolute crud. But he was also the host of Fate magazine, and was helping her to, produce the magazine and stuff too. But he just disappeared one day, and it just happened to be the day that I was interviewing George Noory for the first time. And I was like, "What do you mean you're gone? What are you doing? I don't understand what's happening here, but it really sucks." And it was weird because there was no heads up. There was no anything. I had to figure out how I was going to produce that show. I had no idea what I was going to do because I was in the throes of panic. I'm reaching out to George's producer saying, "I need you to call me.
I need help."
Yes. Well, he didn't call me. And finally I sent a message that said, "Here is the new Skype number for George to call tonight. The old one won't work." And I got a phone call. And so it was a great interview. He did a lot of time with me, and it's not anywhere because I got it over the air. Some people heard it, and I can't retrieve it. So it was
that's a shame.
One of those moments. Well, he's been back on since.
Oh, that's good.
I
like George. He's been on the show.
Yeah. So that's interesting. During the mid to late 1980s, we wrote several cover stories for Fate magazine. And I believe that Phyllis Galdi was the editor back then,
And she is. So, and she is wonderful. I mean, she is one of the best women I've ever had the chance to get to know. And I'm so thankful for her, because when Todd disappeared, and he actually tried to steal my credit card to start a new network. It was, are you kidding me? So I nixed that, but I still had mine. And so I just told the people that were on the network, if you want to come with me, it's going to suck for a few minutes, but it'll be good. And we will get our shows out. And I was talking to Phyllis because she's trying to figure out, what's up with the, trying to find him and stuff like that. And I just told her, I said, "Look, whoever you get to host this, I still have a network. If you want to leave, if you want Fate to stay there, then that's fine. We'll do that." And she was like, "Well, I'd like you to be the host." And I'm like, "Well, boy, am I honored."
Yeah, really.
So, but I've been doing Paranormal Experience for a few years at that point, and it worked out pretty well. And I love doing Fate. I love being affiliated with it. I love working with and for Phyllis. I mean,
it's a terrific magazine. Right? It kind of saved my sanity in the 80s, because there was Fate magazine and there was Omni. That was it, So we also wrote for Omni. So that was.
What I usually get is, well, that was mandatory reading in our house, in the restroom. I'm like, yeah. Usually it's guys that tell me that. But
In the
but I
restroom.
mean, so many people, but so many people had it, and it's just it was as iconic as Omni as Reader's Digest.
Right.
I mean, it and it still is the predominant magazine on these topics.
Yeah.
Because people are interested.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, we wrote for the red pages in the center of Omni
Omni.
magazine, which was
Yes.
their
Yeah, that's how we got to meet Bud Hopkins
metaphysical.
and
Betty Hill.
Betty Hill.
Yeah, but what's
Yeah.
interesting about Fate is they had their own format. They didn't go with a large format or normal format. They had this smaller size, and I think that's kind of what made it interesting, made it unique. Besides the content, of course.
Well, they went to full magazine side for a while.
Oh, did they?
But they went back to the digest.
I
side.
vaguely remember that.
Yeah, I remember. Now I remember they did go large for a while. Yeah. So
okay, so have you ever been abducted? I mean, this little blue guy back here is really unnerving me. He keeps leaning in towards you.
I was just about going in the same direction.
He just likes to be seen.
For anybody listening to audio, what's his name? I think you told us at the start.
His name is Al Leon.
Allion. Well, every time your chair swivels, he
moves.
He's eyeballing you.
Right. He just likes to get screen time.
It's great for the video. It's just the audio. The audio folks are missing the fact that this alien is looking over your shoulder and is really interested in what you're doing. So
he is.
I swear he just moved his head from side to side.
I know.
Yeah, that's great.
That's not something he does all the time. Yeah. So, but it's have I been abducted? I'm not aware that I have been.
Okay, but have you had encounters or?
I've had experiences. And the first one was when I was young, and I used to love to be outside. I still love to be outside. Who am I kidding? But when I was young and at my same grandmother's house, I would hang out with the neighborhood kids. We'd be laying out in the driveways, just watching the stars blow around or whatever, because I don't like snakes. So I would not lay in the grass. But I did have a weird thing happen because I heard this, and I'm thinking it's a snake. I turned around and it was an albino possum, and I'm like, they're mean. Oh my God. I don't know what to do. But I would have rather had an alien standing there. No kidding. Yeah. But I've had lost time, and I don't care for that. But in fact, I had an encounter here over my gazebo. I'm a hammock layer. Okay. And so I'm just out on the hammock. My daughter calls me. She was living out of the state at that time. And I'm like, don't hang up. And she's like, what? I said, there's this really weird colored cloud. It's the only cloud we have. And it's coming right over the gazebo. And she was like, what? I said, do not hang up. Please do not hang up. And so, I'm like, and it was this like good green cloud. And usually those mean tornadoes and there's lots of bad weather around, right? There was no weather around. It was gorgeous. But there's this green cloud. And I'm just like, so I watched it. And as it's coming over the gazebo, it stopped. And a rim came out. And it sounds so cliche, but it was just like you hear with the upside down pie tin, right? With the riveting, it wasn't the smooth. I didn't see rivets, but it was like crinkled like a pie tin. And I was just like, what is that? And then I'm like, oh crap. How cool, but oh crap. And that's when I told Ellie, I said, you're not going to believe this. So I'm documenting with her. I was like, do not hang your phone up.
Please
and if you don't hear me, call your dad. So and it hung out there for a little bit, and like, hey, look at the aliens kind of a thing. And it went on. I never saw a portal like the windows. I never saw anything like that, just the metal. And it just kind of, either the cloud caught up with it or it backed back into the cloud, and it just went on, and then it just dissipated.
Huh.
And I was like, I don't even, had I not been on the phone, I might have thought I dreamt it.
Yeah.
Right. But it's just, I didn't really care for that, because I felt like it was like, hey, you talk about us all the time. Here we are.
Yeah,
What are you
right.
going to do now? You know, and I think that it felt my trepidation, because the times that I have had other craft experiences that felt like they feel you.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, y'all could have done a little more.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you didn't.
Yeah. Say,
So-
Kat, in your interviews, have you ever done anything with any of the people from Skinwalker Ranch? There's a one guy that's a scientist from
He's
Alabama.
from Huntsville. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I irritated him at AlienCon one day when I asked him if he was disinformation or disclosure, since he got a check from the government and from.
Yeah, he's kind of
interesting question. Yeah.
There was some duplicity there,
Uh-huh.
but there
was duplicity there.
Yeah.
And I ran into him again at the Scientific Coalition on UAP Studies conference, the last time they were live. Well, they're always live, but before it went to virtual because of COVID. And he came in, and I was like, because when I asked him that question, it was at the second AlienCon. And, I was at a podium, and I waited my turn to ask questions. I didn't accost him somewhere or whatever. But I just did. I was like, so you draw a check from, Kevin Burns, right? Yeah. So, well, do you still draw a check from NASA, from the government? And he knew where I was going when I'd said, he was like,
What did he say? Oh, he did say.
Well, yeah, because I mean, he does.
Yeah.
And, I was like, so are you disinformation or are you disclosure? Because it'd be tough to be not one or the other, and he got so mad, but he's one of those, Slavic blondes that gets red, and, and I was like, oh no, he's never going to talk to me again.
Yeah.
So when I ran into him at, Scientific Coalition conference, I was like, I don't know if you remember me or not. Here's how I remember you. Sorry. But I was like, you never answered me. And he just kind of looked at me.
Funny.
And he got pretty red again.
Yeah.
And I was like, just saying. And he was like, I would never violate my oath to my country. I said, I'm really not asking you to. I'm sorry. But
so they had to expose that on I think it was the beginning of the fourth season. Yeah, because they had to lay it out that he was
because other people knew too.
Yeah. Right.
And it wasn't a huge leap to jump for that, plus the fact that he is from Alabama, and when he joined Skinwalker, everybody cringed, because every time they went to get in the truck, he was like, shotgun. And it was like,
what did he do?
Really? Shotgun.
Oh, really? Oh,
I'm right,
Okay.
And that is so Alabama.
Yeah.
And it's so much fun. But he got to test drive the Mars rover before it went, the G.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. And he is very involved in the Mars, in everything. He is, he has 4 PhDs at last count. He is probably the most, I'm going to upset people when I say this, but it's true, one of the most brilliant minds of his generation.
Mm-hmm.
And he is totally into gaining information. Yeah, he actually had radiation poisoning.
Huh.
Yeah.
From Skinwalker.
Yeah.
I mean, stuff like that's not made up, that aspect.
He's
So
also very charming. You can tell.
He is very charming.
He's a nice looking guy. Yeah.
Yeah. What's interesting, though, is that ranch was controlled by the government for, I don't know, 10, 12 years. And then it was turned
20.
over
Yeah.
privately. But then the government still had its fingers in there through his
Yes.
contact, and they've also had a lot of black helicopters flying over, and like when they're filming, and they get, I don't know if that was intentional or what, but
Who do you think owns those black helicopters?
what's that?
Not the
Who do you
aliens.
think?
Yeah, I don't know.
Aliens don't have them,
Yeah.
but they are right by a military base. That is
Yeah.
not protected airspace,
Yeah.
and it could be anybody. And I've heard a lot of people talk about, when they have the big glowing UFO go by. I've heard that oftentimes that runs with sightings of space shuttle. But the UFOs that I've seen do move like that until they don't, right? And they will be. And I love to watch for the space shuttle. I have the alert on my phone. I go outside to watch it. I don't know what I'm going to do when it's not up there anymore. I'm going to be crushed. But, it's just one of those things that when you are watching it, there's a lot that's true. And I know Jim Morse, who is their new land manager, ranch manager, that I got to meet him when I was at Contact in the Desert 2 years ago. And he's brilliant. Everybody I have met from Skinwalker Ranch is just fantastic people.
Yeah.
I'm lucky that I get to go places and sit and chat with these people and, hang out.
Have you ever been at Skinwalker? You?
Not yet.
Let us know when you go.
I will. And don't think there won't be video.
I'm sure.
But I am just so fascinated by that whole concept because I've been reading about Skinwalker since I was in my 20s. And the first books were coming out, the first articles were coming out. I mean, no matter what your opinion is of the show itself, that place has more anomalous happenings.
There's a lot of strange stuff there.
And there's a few places like that around the globe.
Yeah. I just don't think they're ever going to get into that mesa, though, and where the base supposedly is. They've tried different ways, drilling down and all kinds of different equipment. They're very high tech. They
are very high tech.
Yeah, everything available, but they just they're not getting anywhere. And then they get UFOs coming right out of the top that they film.
Yes. Now, see, that part is the part, and the fact that Travis got his mind blown when he caught an orb anomaly coming down a path and in a very not insect flight pattern. Right?
Yeah.
But I think that there is. I'm positive that there's stuff there because like I said, I've been following that place since people started talking about it.
Yeah.
And the experiences have not really varied in tone. Yeah. Although prior to this group investigating it, there was a lot more cryptid activity.
Yeah. And I think Travis was genuinely a skeptic when he went in there too.
Yes, he was.
He got his mind blown from the experiences that he had that first season. Yeah.
Kat, what do you think the government's hiding about UFOs?
Well, would you like to be able to tell your earthly populace that we've got people coming here, we don't know what they're here for, but they keep taking people and they keep not always bringing them back, and they're doing some experiments on a few of them, but not all of them. The ones that don't get experimented on just don't come back. So and we've got these animals and they don't have eyeballs anymore, they don't have mammary glands, they don't have intestines, but that could never happen to you, so don't fear.
So don't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, who wants to be the guy coming out with that, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I think that the reason that it's uncontrollable is the reason that they cannot come forward. And if the stories are true about the treaties that were ostensibly created with them,
Mhm.
who's going to want to talk about that?
Yeah. That's true.
Not a damn soul.
Yeah.
They don't want anything to do with that. And it's really, if those stories are true, and Eisenhower's own granddaughter says they are, then, although why he would tell his family, I don't know. But, there's so much out there that you just sit there and you're like, no, I wouldn't be telling people I did that to them,
No.
because if you've heard the regression session with Barney Hill,
Mhm.
it was horrible. And that was just the first one that got talked about. I mean,
Well, we spent a weekend with Betty Hill, and that was really incredibly strange.
I imagine so. What
And
did
she
you
was-
think about them not being able to work her zipper?
It was just the whole thing was
Yeah,
weird. I
that's-
mean,
that's
it was
odd,
it was the night to our apartment. We had two psychics come, and we wanted their impressions of, we had dinner and everything, and we lived on the first floor of a condo in Fort Lauderdale, and all of a sudden Betty throws open the sliding glass doors and runs outside, and we looked at each other like, "Uh-oh, what happened?" And she
What
had
did we
seen,
say?
yeah, no, it was something she'd seen. And she runs out in the middle of the parking lot and she's looking up at the sky, and she goes, there. And it was airplanes. It wasn't, at least
That's-
not that I
to,
could
to
see.
us, we saw airplanes.
Yeah.
But,
Right.
But
so,
to Betty, it was,
Yeah.
they were here.
Yeah. And that they could
Wow.
change shapes like that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I would be
She was-
paranoid about that. I mean, I
Yeah.
know Kathleen, her granddaughter, her niece,
right.
but I would probably never go back outside
Yeah. Right.
if I had been through what they described. I mean, and Barney's session was just horrendous.
Yeah.
Fear.
Well,
So-
just abject terror. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Look-
it was.
Yeah. So Kat, the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies is having a conference called Anomalous Aerospace Phenomena in the end of May in Huntsville. And
Yes.
I think you're going to be involved with that. Are you going to it?
I'm going to be there as media, hopefully. I
Yeah.
haven't talked to. to
It's
my
very
friends there yet.
strange that they made it on that weekend, the last weekend in May, because that's when contact in the desert takes place. And so I noticed on their website, they hardly have any people yet. I mean, I think they're having trouble.
They do not have celebrity UFO
Yeah.
people. It is completely science based.
Okay.
Okay.
The last time Abby Loeb spoke, I mean,
he's something. He's an
he
interesting
is
guy.
something. Oh my goodness. Yeah, the first time that I met the Pentagon whistleblowers, I was at, I think I was at the Phoenix UFO conference.
Mhm.
But the second time that I got to meet them face to face, listen to them, learn from them, was at Scientific Coalition
Huh.
and UAP Studies conferences. And they are brilliant.
Hmm.
I just, I was really tickled when, after all this hoopla, all these interviews, all the everything that was said in those congressional hearings, that the federal government this week said, yeah, it's a load of crap. That's not real.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, yeah, right.
They did that
We
again.
saw those interviews.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And so they're discrediting a lot of very well respected, very
Mhm.
well known scientists
That's true.
in the course of that, as well as military men, whose primary fear is not abduction, is not, human race stuff. Their fears are very real and very practical, which is they're jet pilots.
Right.
These things can cloak and they can see sometimes a shimmer, but they are watching our military maneuvers. And particularly in, I believe it was Virginia waters, there's a flight pattern that they use, and the pilots are like, they're there all the time.
Jeez.
I mean, yeah, the Nimitz was not the first time this stuff happened. The
Yeah.
USS Roosevelt on the Atlantic side had an almost perfectly matching experience before that.
Huh.
And so these guys, the pilots, are seeing or recognizing that there's something there, these craft, and the possibility, all it takes is one mistake on
Right.
both sides, either side, and you're going to have a calamity. And that's what the pilots are so concerned about. They don't want to die. They don't want to not be able to, be honest. They don't want
Right.
somebody not. I mean, Kevin Day's career was ruined when he came forward saying, I was a radar operator. There were, it was a fleet. It was not a TikTok. There was a fleet.
Mm-hmm.
And, but seriously, his career was ruined. They tried to ruin him personally
God.
as an individual, right? And so if there's not a reason to be fearful or concerned, why is it such, other
God.
than the fear factor of what's going to happen when somebody does say,
Right.
I mean, could you imagine with our government the way it is right now, coming out and saying, yep, there's stuff flying around, we have no control over it.
And we don't know what it
Hey,
is.
live a good life, which all you can do is live your best life anyway, no matter what's going on around you. But still, they have to come forward and say, we're so sorry, we knew about this stuff, but we just were afraid to tell you.
Yeah.
That's not going to fly in this environment.
It's ever going to happen, regardless of president.
So
It doesn't matter.
Fate magazine, I always kind of had a label called Mysteries of the Unknown, which is a perfect way of captioning all the aspects of the paranormal. Do you have a favorite area of the investigations yourself?
I do.
Okay.
I love paranormal investigations. I think that, to me, although back in the day, I would love to have been in the original group of ufology
Oh, okay. Yeah.
studies, because Stanton Friedman was a huge impact on me. He was somebody that I just called him one day and asked him to come on my show. And when he called me back, I was a little panicked because I was talking to him on my Apple Watch because I didn't know where my phone was, and it was Stanton Friedman. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to call you back.
Yeah, he was a nice guy. I had
He's the nicest.
Yeah, some exchanges online with him. It's very nice. What about this To the Stars group? Have you had any relation with them?
I have had some interaction with a couple of people involved in it.
Yeah.
I am not sure that I am completely on board with because they're planning, I feel like their goal is to learn and develop that technology. The technology side is what fascinates them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And to be able to learn to implement that technology. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if I were coming up now, instead of coming to the end of my working stuff, I would so do whatever it took to become involved in that field of study. Because now I look back and I'm like, holy crud, this is amazing stuff. This is some of the coolest information, and the science is the key.
Yeah.
The understanding the mathematics, the understanding the science of the propulsion systems. I mean, everything about it is fascinating and mesmerizing. And that is where this has gone. I feel like, in my opinion, the goal is to achieve that method of transportation and research. That's to the stars. That's exactly, let's do it. And do they have some of the best and brightest minds on the planet walking? helping them? Absolutely they do, because who doesn't want to go to the stores?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't think that they are so much a UAP history kind of studies group. They don't care about history. They want to be part of the present, and they want to bring this into our present. I'm all about doing that, right? I think that's great. But I do think that the people with knowledge who have come out, like Lou Elizondo came out because he didn't feel this was something that he could be part of hiding anymore.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and I have great respect for Lou Elizondo. I think he is probably one of the few true heroes of this generation. That's not true. There's a lot of heroes, but in that field, one of the few heroes that have come out and said, we're going to step this up. I can't be part of hiding this anymore. You know, he was an incredible source, and he has completely respected his do not disclose, which not everybody does, but they have at those levels. The repercussions for not doing so are huge. I think he hasn't done so because he's a man of honor. And you know, I think I'm really hoping to be around to see the first flight that goes up and comes back from Mars.
Kat, do you know Whitley Strieber?
I have met him. I've done his workshops. We know each other lightly, not as far as like sit down and get a beer and chat. But man, he's fascinating.
He is fascinating. We met him in Casadega. He texted me one day as we were leaving, and he said, "Hey, do you know where Hotel Casadega is?" I said, "Yep, we're just leaving." And he said, "It was either Anne, his wife, or his brother. Somebody had said, go to Casadega." So he said, "Can we meet up in Casadega?" So we did. It was fascinating.
Yeah,
that would be.
Yeah, it's a great place to meet somebody like that.
Well, so his experiences. Wow.
Kat, we got to have you back on. I could talk to you for hours.
Me, you too. I've enjoyed this greatly. You'll have to come on. You'll have to come to my place, and we'll do it too.
Okay.
Yeah, too. Well, we want to have one more story. What about your dog? We talked about this before.
Oh yeah, the dog.
Let's finish with the dog story.
I've got. We will do that. Here. We we are dog people. We rescue. We adopt. We, you know, whatever it takes. But we now have 2 dogs, and they are 6 and 7 of our dogs. And our little dog, first of all, we had a dog named Bernie. He came home from the pound, was supposed to be my daughter's dog, decided he was mine, lived with us until he passed away. He was the best character. He would pick up a dog treat or whatever and walk around like he was burning one, right? Always had a stogie. So it was so funny because his personality was fun. He would do what we called swimming, which is lay on his back and all these things. He had a lot of quirks. Well, we lost him. And when I was in Ohio filming Portals to Hell, I got a call from my husband. It said, "There's a dog in the yard." And I was like, "Well, there better be 4." Just saying, you know. But he was like, no, there's a spare. And I was like, "Well, bring him in, give him a bath, you know, take him to the vet. I'll be home in a couple of days, and we'll just check him out, you know." So he was like, "He's nasty. I'm not bringing him in. I'm not." I said, "Well, then wrap him in a towel and take him to get groomed. I'll be home." So he didn't do it. So I came home and walked in, and he's at the door with the other dogs. I was just like, "Oh, you're small." I mean, because we don't have small dogs. And I picked him up. I brought him in, gave him a bath, got him situated, took him to the vet, got his haircut, made sure his shots were up, checked him for the little thingies. Yeah. He didn't have one. He didn't. And got one put in, brought him home, and we christened him Little because he's little. And so this dog has the same facial expressions, the same mannerisms, the same behaviors, the same, staccato barking in certain situations that Bernie had. Everything about him is reminiscent of Bernie. And my husband, who does not get into the groove with that kind of thing at all, looked at me one afternoon. He's like, he's Bernie. I was like, you think so? Took you a minute, because he is. And it is so funny because I have not had a dog come back like that.
That's great.
And so Bernie had an untimely death. He broke his neck, and it was really a terrible thing because he didn't immediately die. So it was just like, oh no. So there was a lot of emotion. There was a lot of emotion tied to him anyway because he was just brilliant. But with the way we lost him, that was just so tragic that he is so enmeshed with us. And I think that he came back to finish the natural.
That's what it sounds like.
Things. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We've had that
so
with
too.
animals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
Really?
Thank you
with
very much,
cats. We got to talk again.
Yeah.
This is
We did. You come in with me. You can tell me about your dog.
okay.
Right, okay.
Tell
Great-
people
Thank you
where
for
they
having me.
Yeah.
however,
What were you gonna
people,
say?
however people could contact you.
Oh, well, I am LinkedIn. I am on Instagram. I am obviously through Bait Mag, baitmagradio.com, cat at baitmagradio.com. You can also reach me, Paranormal Experienced at Gmail.
Okay.
Anytime on LinkedIn, you can message me. You can just add me. I will, if you have experiences that you want to share, I will be so happy to talk to you. I love when people can share their paranormal history or their ufology history. I love being educated. I just love talking to people. I like people.
Well, great. This is fantastic. Thanks so
All right,
much. This has
thank
been
you
just
so
great.
much.
Thank
Great
you.
talking
Thank you
to
for
you.
having
Okay.
me.
Talk soon.